I have one item on my mind. It's prompted by our moving into the month of the Ides of March. I like the Ides of March. Their harrowing Shakespearean depiction of assassination and death, which was given great credence by the release last week of the Amnesty International report on the year 2014, a harrowing document in itself. And along with the report came an essay, an op-ed in the New York Times written by Salil Shetty, the head of Amnesty International. And I want to read the first paragraph to you. I know it's unusual, but I think you'll see it's germane. Quote, "Glance at any newsstand or catch any rolling news channel, and you will be confronted by a seemingly unrelented tide of horror. Limp bodies pulled from rubble, shells and barrel bombs pounding once leafy neighborhoods, refugees huddled for warmth or risking life and limb for survival, mass abductions and beheadings. From Ukraine to Nigeria, from Libya to Syria, the last 12 months have been a year of harrowing bloodshed." And indeed they have. And one of the benchmarks of the bloodshed, of the response within all these countries, has been war crimes. War crimes committed in 18 countries. And because they spill over the borders, 35 countries have been engaged in what amounts to crimes against humanity. And over 130 countries have been engaged in torture and in life-threatening attacks on prisoners and dissenters and protesters. Torture has been given a kind of imprimatur of legitimacy, physical torture, sexual torture, psychological torture, by the American response to 9/11, when the United States has admitted to using torture around the world and others have done likewise. Now, the organization that's supposed to protect us against torture, against terror, against mass atrocities committed against civilians is, of course, the United Nations. But the United Nations has been completely hamstrung at the level of the Security Council by the 5 permanent members wielding their veto. So if you want to protect the civilians of Syria from carnage, Russia or China exercise a veto to prevent the resolution from passing. If you want to do something about Gaza, United States threatens a veto. If you want to do something about the Central African Republic or about South Sudan, there's always some veto looming in the background which prevents you from taking action. Now, suddenly, there is a mounting campaign led by Kofi Annan, the former Secretary-General of the United Nations, to undermine the use of the veto in the United Nations, to say to the 5 permanent members, where mass atrocities are concerned, you cannot exercise the veto because of your geopolitical self-interest. And Kofi Annan is joined in that by Amnesty International and by Human Rights Watch as this momentum builds. You know, the opening words of the Charter of the United Nations were, "We the peoples, determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war." Well, we have saved succeeding generations from the scourge of another world war, but we haven't saved them from terror and torture and depravity and atrocity and conflict. That's the world in early 2015. That was last week. I'm Stephen Lewis.